Okay. Everybody ready? Had a long day so far? Okay. What'd you guys come from, the camels? Is that what you just learned about?
Yeah.
You know what? You know what I think the coolest thing about camels is?
What?
They have 3 eyelids. Did Mr. Paul tell you that?
Mm-hmm.
That was totally cool. Here's why I think that is because I used to work in Phoenix for a while, and they have sandstorms in Phoenix sometimes. And when those blow in really fast, if you stand out in your bare skin, it actually hurts for that sand to hit you. So I can totally get why a camel would need 3 eyelids to protect them against the sand. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
So it doesn't get in his eye and ruin his eye. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to switch to kangaroos. Anybody know anything about kangaroos?
No.
Ah, well then you're in the right place. Okay, you're going to learn more about kangaroos than you ever wanted to know. Now, there are 2 big words that we use to describe kangaroos. The first one is kangaroo, yeah. The first one is macropod. So everybody say macropod.
Macropod.
Do you know what macropod means?
No.
It means big feet. Why would we call kangaroos big feet?
I don't know.
Well, look at your picture on your page.
Does it have big feet?
Because they have huge feet, that's right. So a macropod is an animal with big feet. Now the other word, it's an even bigger one, it's marsupial. Can you say marsupial?
Why are they
Marsupial.
Marsupial, that's right. Marsupial is a word that means purse carrier. Why would we call a kangaroo a purse carrier?
Because
Yes,
they
sir.
have a pouch.
Because he has the females, the mamas have pouches. What do they keep in their pouches?
Kangaroo.
They're babies, exactly right. They keep their babies. So we're going to talk about 2 things about kangaroos that those words describe. The first one is their feet, and we'll talk a little about their tail too, okay? And the second thing is we're going to talk about baby kangaroos and those pouches because that's really, really interesting. And it's one of the signs that God made them, if you ask me.
I already know a little bit about them.
Okay, I'm going to need your help then, okay? In just a few minutes. Now, let's talk about the kangaroo's feet and his tail first of all. An Australian red, which is most of what you see back here is Australian red kangaroos. That's the biggest species of kangaroo. And a full-grown male Australian red can grow 6.5 feet tall, and he can weigh 200 pounds or more. That's about the same size as me. It's a little taller, actually, than me. That's a big kangaroo. Do you know how fast that kangaroo can hop?
No.
Yes, sir.
40 miles.
At burst, he can go 44 miles an hour. For long distances, he can go 30 miles an hour. Over and over and over again, he can hop like that. Do you know how far he can go in one jump? 30 feet. That's about the distance to that tree over there. Okay, that's how far he can jump in one jump. There he goes. Do you know how high he is at the top of his jump? 8 to 10 feet, about up to that branch right there.
Yeah.
Okay, now, that Australian kangaroo is about the same size as me. Can I jump that high? No way. Can I jump that far?
No.
No way. Can I jump 30 miles an hour?
No.
No way. I'm the same size as he. Why can't I? I'm going to explain to you why. There's 2 reasons, okay? The first one is the kangaroo's, listen, the kangaroo's tail, okay? When you see a kangaroo jumping, here, I'll show you a picture here. That's a picture of a kangaroo hopping at 30 miles an hour, okay? You see that tail right there?
Yeah.
When his legs go back and forth, you can see his tail. You can actually see this on YouTube, moms and dads. If you pull that up, you can see a slow-mo of a Australian red running. You can see that tail moving back and forth, and that keeps his center of gravity where he can stay balanced. It keeps it in exactly the same spot, no matter how he's moving or orienting his legs at any given time. So his tail helps him balance. It helps to keep him from falling over, all right? I can't run like that because I don't have a tail, right? So when I run, I'm a little less balanced than a kangaroo. When a kangaroo runs 30 miles an hour, he's exactly balanced at every point in his run. That's a very unique thing about these kangaroos. The second thing is his feet. I want all of you to feel the back of your feet, the back of your legs right here. When you stretch your foot like this, can you feel a muscle get real tight back there? That's a special muscle. Anybody know what it's called? That's your Achilles tendon, all right? If you've ever heard of an Achilles tendon. That muscle is very, very important because when you compress it like that, it stores all the energy that you use to push off when you walk or run, okay? So when I walk like that, my Achilles tendon is storing energy, and then when I push off, it lets some of that energy out, okay? Well, a kangaroo has a muscle just like that, all right? Only his muscle is 3.5 times more powerful than mine, okay? even though he's exactly the same size, his muscles are 3.5 times stronger than mine are. That's why he can jump way higher and way longer and way faster than I can. You know what? If I had an Achilles tendon that was as powerful as a kangaroo's, I could jump 30 feet, and I could jump 10 feet high, and I could jump 30 miles an hour. Do you know what I'd be doing for a living? NBA basketball player, right? I would own LeBron James, I can tell you for a fact, if I had muscles that were as strong as kangaroo muscles were. So that's why kangaroos can jump higher and farther and faster. You know why that is? Because God designed them to jump higher and farther and faster, okay? Everybody get that? Let's talk about baby kangaroos, okay? Before we do that, if anybody's following in their books, question 1, a long tail that gives extra support and provides balance is the first design characteristic of a kangaroo. A long tail. All right? And then number 2, powerful elastic tendons that can store up to 70% of their energy when jumping. Mine can only store 20. 70%. Okay, now let's talk about baby kangaroos. Let's try this. When a baby kangaroo is about 6 months old, he's about this size. Okay? Yeah, pretty normal, not too surprising. How big do you think a baby kangaroo is when he first comes out of his mama?
I don't know.
A baby kangaroo is about the size of my fingertip. He's about the size of a jelly bean when he first crawls out of his mama's birth canal. Okay? Now, he has to do something when he comes out, right? I'm gonna explain that to you. He can't see at all. He can't hear at all. But there are 2 things that he can do. He can crawl and he can smell. Okay? So when a baby kangaroo comes out, what do you think he wants? He wants food, right? What does he get his food? From his mama's milk. Do you know where his mama's milk is? It's in her pouch. It's in the pouch, that's right. So he's got to crawl all the way up his mama's stomach and find the opening in the pouch and then crawl into it and latch onto his mom so he can get his milk. And he's that big, okay? And you guys, if you can go onto YouTube for this too and see a video of a newborn embryonic kangaroo crawling out up into his mama's pouch. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes for him to get there, blind and deaf, basically, and to find that and to go in. And so that kangaroo crawls into his mama's pouch at that size, just the size of a jelly bean, and well, here, let me do this. This is what he looks like about a month later. Come here close and you can see it.
I can see him.
Can you see it from there? That's what a baby kangaroo looks like when he's 1 month old inside his mama's pouch. Can you see the finger on the side? That's the same size as my finger. So he's about that big. All right? What can you see on that picture?
A baby kangaroo.
Yeah, but what can you see on him? Can you see his tail?
Yes.
Yep. Can you see his eye?
Yes.
Can you see his ears? You can see his forelegs right there and his hind legs right there. And then his whole body. Every body part of the kangaroo is there when he's 1 month old in his mama's pouch. Okay? And then over the next 6 months, he gets to be this big. All right? Then do you know what happens? He decides he needs some exercise. All right? And so he crawls out of his mama's pouch and he starts to walk and hop around. And his mama teaches him how to find food and how to run away from danger. And then when it's nighttime, he comes back in and he eats from his mama again. He feeds from his mama again until he's about a year old. So for parents, the kangaroo's gestation period, the red anyway, is about 9 months, and he keeps nursing for about a total of a year after he goes into the pouch. Now here's the cool part: a 1 month old baby kangaroo, and careful you guys, and a 9 month old baby kangaroo, they need 2 totally different kinds of milk. Okay, this guy needs high nutrition, lots of energy because he's hopping around, and this guy needs something totally different. You know what God did with kangaroos, with mama kangaroos?
No.
He gave them 2 sets of mammary glands. That's big words to say mama can make 2 different kinds of milk at the same time. One for her big baby kangaroos and one for her little baby kangaroos. Is that amazing?
Wow.
That's not like people. That's not like any other animals. Only marsupials can do that. All right? 50 cent extra. There's one marsupial that's native to the state of Missouri. Does anybody know what it is? Yes, sir.
Possum.
It's the possum. Absolutely right. The kangaroo has distant cousins that live in Missouri, and that's the possum, because they have pouches as well. They're marsupials, just like the kangaroos are. I'll just throw that one in. Okay, so Little baby, size of the jelly bean, has to crawl up his mama's pouch all by himself, into, latch on, grow up 6 months, come out, learn how to jump, comes back in. Mama has to make 2 sets of milk because mama's raising one of these. She's got another one of these inside her, and there's another one on the way. And that happens for 6 to 8 years on the mama kangaroo. They spend 6 to 8 years having babies over and over, about 12 to 20 of them in 6 to 8 years that they were children. So mama kangaroos are strong, and they're incredibly well designed to have baby kangaroos. All right. Now, do you guys think that happened by accident? You know what? There's enough complexity in that. There's enough complicated pieces to that it's pretty hard to come up with a scenario that says that all came about by chance, right? Because for you adults, there's this concept called irreducible complexity, which means that whole system of having baby kangaroos, every piece of it has to function perfectly right the first time in order for there to be another generation of baby kangaroos. Somebody has to explain to me how all of that evolved over thousands or millions of years, right? You can't see a system like that and not recognize exactly the same thing you can recognize in a complicated watch or in a complicated car. You would look at those things and you would say, somebody designed that, somebody put it together, because it's too complex to happen by chance. 100 more times complicated for a baby kangaroo, right? It's amazing to look at. As a matter of fact, it's not only amazing to look at, it doesn't just make my jaw drop, it makes me laugh, okay? Because this is crazy, all right? I could never have come up with this. I could never have thought up the ways that God decided to design his animals to do things so differently. And the way the kangaroo does it is crazy. It makes me laugh. So that tells me a bunch of different things. It tells me that the person who made the kangaroo, God, is incredibly smart, right? He's way smarter than any of us. It also tells me he's way more powerful than any of us. I could never have done anything like that. It also tells me he has an awesome sense of humor, because I could never have designed something this entertaining to watch and to learn about. Do you guys know that you learn about God when you see his animals? Did you know that? When I look at kangaroos, I totally see the God that made kangaroos in them, right? When I look at you guys, I can see the God that made you. When I look at you guys, right? When I see everything around me, it tells me over and over and over and over again that there's a God who made everything I see, because it's so amazing it couldn't have happened by chance, right? That makes me worship my God, right? And that makes me love him, and it makes me want to serve him, because there isn't anybody like him. Isn't that right? It's absolutely right. You learn the same thing when you talk about camels. You learn the same thing when you talk about giraffes. All you have to do is look with your eyes and listen with your ears, and you guys will see God everywhere you go. Do you know that? Everywhere you go. So I hope some of you guys become biologists and zoologists and all the people that can learn about animals, all the things that we don't know now, because every new thing that you learn and teach to me will help me understand God better, and it'll help me worship him more. So can you guys remember that? If you can remember that, then what I did today was a success. All right?
It's not yours, Jake. I have yours in my bag.
Cool. All right. That's all I have for you guys about kangaroos, and you have one or two more